Hey there, Cinemaster fans! Hope you're ready for some movie magic. Let's dive right in. The predatory zombies began to terrorize a rural village in northern Quebec due to the outbreak of a mysterious, unexplained epidemic. This strange phenomenon was first noticed at a racetrack when a driver approached one of the workers there and spotted a pale-looking woman standing and staring at them intently. When he asked her what she wanted, the pale woman ran toward them and bit the racetrack worker on the neck. The driver, shocked, froze for a moment before calling out for help. The survivors were forced to roam the area, searching for people who had not yet been infected. One of the first survivors was an elderly man named Raal, who was trying to escape 3 zombies chasing after him. In another part of the village, a boy named Tikol wiped his tears as he prepared to leave his home. Before leaving, he untied a caged bird to set it free, grabbed a rifle lying next to a freshly dug grave, and headed off. In the forest, Bonin and Vizina were keeping themselves entertained with jokes about doctors while watching for any infected individuals. Meanwhile, Celine was driving her car around the village, hunting zombies to kill. When she didn't find anyone, she stopped her car, turned the radio volume to maximum to attract any nearby infected, and waited. The moment she saw someone emerge from a house, she immediately grabbed her machete. Celine attacked the zombie ferociously, blood splattering onto the car's rear window. As she tried to catch her breath, a young infected boy appeared beside her car, staring at her. Without a moment's hesitation, she hit the gas and drove off, leaving the boy behind. Bonin and Vizina were driving back to their camp when Vizina suddenly spotted a woman and her daughter standing in the forest by the road. He recognized them, saying the girl used to go to school with his son. As Vizina approached them, Bonin called out, telling him to leave them and deal with them later. Vizina hesitated to fire his weapon, fearing the noise would attract other infected. Hearing a frightened cry, Vizina ventured deeper into the forest to investigate. Bonin noticed the woman had disappeared, leaving the girl alone on the road. As Vizina walked through the forest, he spotted a boy hiding up in a tree, but before he could get a better look, he suddenly heard the woman laughing softly behind him. Shortly after, Bonin heard a scream followed by a gunshot. Vizina, bitten on the neck, cocked his rifle and shot the woman, who fell to the ground. More zombies appeared behind Vizina, forcing him to run toward the pickup truck. Back in the forest, Real managed to kill one of the zombies chasing him, but the other 2 continued running toward him. Exhausted, he could no longer run. As the zombies closed in, Tikol arrived and shot them with his rifle. Real, who had been bitten, confessed to Tikol that he hesitated to kill the approaching zombie because it was his wife. He continued, revealing that the 2 other zombies Tikol had just killed were his children. Bonin and Vizina stopped in a field to catch their breath. Vizina remarked that if he had known such an outbreak would happen, he would have withdrawn all his money from the bank and taken his son to Disneyland. Bonin replied that he would have gone to a girl named Katie and confessed his feelings for her. As Bonin spoke, Vizina fell silent and passed away. Bonin, mourning the loss of his friend, returned to the road. Meanwhile, Celine stopped at a house to check if there was any fuel in the oil tank outside. 2 elderly women, Pauline and Therese, appeared and ordered her at gunpoint to strip naked to check for bite marks. As Pauline examined Celine's body for signs of infection, Therese searched her car. After finding nothing suspicious, Pauline offered Celine a drink. Celine told them they were the first survivors she had encountered in weeks. Therese invited her to stay with them as long as she wanted. Bonin returned to a hunting camp where he met another survivor. After the man learned what had happened to Vizina, he went to the back of the truck to dismember the body. He asked Bonin if Therese knew what had happened to her son. Bonin replied that he hadn't told her yet. The man revealed that he had tied up an infected woman named Tanya inside his cabin, claiming a dog had bitten her. Bonin entered the cabin and began explaining to Tanya what would happen once the infection spread. Initially, the infected would feel nauseous, then develop spots on their skin. Shortly afterward, they would feel stronger, eventually succumbing to the urge to eat other people's organs. Tanya tried to speak, but the gag in her mouth muffled her. Bonin removed it, and she told him the man had plugged her ears so she hadn't heard anything he said. She begged him to untie her, insisting a dog had bitten her. Bonin ignored her and left the cabin. Suddenly, Bonin heard the cabin owner screaming. He rushed back to the cabin to untie Tanya. Hearing another scream, Bonin opened the door, triggering the alarm system. He quickly removed the key from the ignition, realizing the noise would attract zombies. Tanya quietly climbed into the car, carrying her accordion. After Bonin started the car, the cabin owner suddenly jumped in front of the windshield, followed by other zombies emerging from the forest. Bonin drove away, thinking they were finally safe, but the infected cabin owner clung to the back of the car. Bonin shouted at Tanya to grab the rifle and shoot him. She screamed as she cocked the rifle and shot him in the head. Bonin stopped by the roadside to dispose of the cabin owner's body. He asked Tanya if she was from the village, but she said her father owned a cabin by Trout Lake. As they prepared to leave, Bonin decided to wait a bit to ensure they wouldn't attract any zombies by starting the engine. While waiting, a man named Demars suddenly jumped out from the side of the car, startling them. Unaware of the epidemic, Demars told Bonin someone had tried to bite him. Demars then continued on his way to surprise his family, not knowing most of the villagers had been infected. Real told Tikal he regretted not leaving the village earlier when his family started chasing him. All he could think about was turning back and telling them he loved them. Real admitted it was a foolish idea, but Tikal disagreed, saying it wasn't stupid. Tikal recalled shooting his family after the infection spread to their home. His mother, who had been bitten on the neck, looked broken as she stared at his father and sister's lifeless bodies. Slowly, she turned toward Tikal, forcing a faint smile before looking back at the corpses. Tikal steeled himself, aimed his rifle at her, and shot her. Bonin and Tanya stopped at a farm to search for supplies after hearing from Demars that the owner had turned into a zombie. I heard sounds of banging around the house. Where were they coming from? Tanya reached a room and tried to listen for any sound behind the door. She heard nothing, so she decided to open it. The door creaked. Tanya then heard someone running. Inside the room, she found a little girl trying to hide from her. Tanya cleaned the white powder that was smeared on the girl's face, and the girl started to feel a bit more comfortable with her. On the way, Bonin tried to make the girl laugh by telling her a joke. The girl's name was Zoe. She smiled at him, but Tanya gave him a disapproving look when they stopped at a mobile home to rest. They heard a woman on a radio device searching for her little puppy. Tanya asked who she was talking about, but he ignored her and got out of the vehicle. The next day, Tanya was outside attending to her needs when she accidentally stepped on a rat trap, making a snapping sound. Immediately after, she heard more traps snapping around her, followed by a terrifying scream. Tanya quickly crouched to the ground and cautiously looked around for any signs of zombies. When she turned, she saw an injured man staggering toward her. She dropped to the ground and began crawling away slowly. Suddenly, a zombie appeared next to her, and she screamed as she ran. The zombie caught up with her and knocked her to the ground, but Bonin intervened and stabbed it multiple times as it tried to bite her. Afterward, Tanya began yelling in frustration, saying that she used to sell toys with Katie, but because of the outbreak, she would never see her again. When Tanya got back into the vehicle, Zoe mentioned that she also missed her cousin, TJ. Everyone fell silent, but their quietness was quickly interrupted by Demars, who suddenly jumped next to the vehicle to warn them. Demars cautioned them that something was happening on Route 8, so Bonin decided to check it out. When they arrived, Bonin saw zombies gathered around a tower of piled-up furniture. Before he could leave, an injured man spotted him and screamed, attracting the attention of other zombies. Tanya got out of the vehicle to look for Bonin, but quickly returned when she saw him running. Zoe immediately started the vehicle when she saw them, and Bonin jumped into the back as the zombies watched them drive away. Bonin decided to head to Therese's place to inform them about what happened to Zoe. When Therese found out, she slapped Bonin and fell to the ground crying after hearing the news about her son. Pauline thought the number of infected had decreased in recent weeks, but now it seemed like they were increasing again. Pauline concluded that the infected hadn't found food outside the village, so they were returning. Tanya confirmed that someone must have blocked the roads to prevent them from reaching other cities. Pauline suggested fortifying the house and staying quiet to avoid attracting any zombies. She also mentioned that they needed to ration the food as it was running out, though Zoe wished she could eat the amount she needed because she was still growing. Celine warned them that the house was on the path of the infected, who seemed to be gathering together. She suggested they undertake the long journey to a fortified shelter that would keep them safe. The group quickly made plans, gathered as much food as they could carry, and set off at night. The group began discussing their concerns about Tanya's bite. Bonin tried to defend her, saying it was just a dog bite, but Celine pointed out that he hadn't seen it happen. Tanya told the group to include her in their decisions before making any judgments about her. Soon after, they started hearing the sounds of traps snapping in the forest. Zombies began running toward the house, so they left immediately. They eventually reached the forest and discovered a tower made of chairs, but at the same time, zombies began surrounding them. When the infected woman tried to grab her crying bride, Celine aimed to strike her with a machete. The zombies started running towards the house, so they went out immediately and finally arrived at the forest. They remained silent while hiding among the trees. Bonin was out in the open, and there were several injured people running after him, so he had no choice but to use the gun. Suddenly, a zombie grabbed another one from behind while she was hiding with Zoe. She was trying to free herself. Zoe stabbed the zombie in the mouth, and this allowed a second one to get up and kill him. When a second zombie appeared in front of them, Celine attacked him with her fence. The group continued their journey and passed by a river. There, they met T-Cool and Real. Bonin noticed the bite on Real's thigh, so the two decided to continue on their way without letting anyone know. The group was walking and passed by a farm, so they started discussing whether to pass through it or take another route. Bonin suggested that they could walk along the river, but that would add another day to the journey. Pauline agreed to walk along the river despite the heavy effort that would put her through, so they all moved. On the way, Demers suddenly jumped out of the trees and shouted at the group to get over it. This made Thana shoot him. Thana tried to explain. Bonin told her that Demers was already counted, so there was nothing for the group to worry about. Then they passed by another tower of furniture. There were a number of zombies gathered around it, so they tried to run past it as quietly as possible. At the same time, Rial and T-Cool were watching them from afar. Zoe and Bonin ran towards the pile of furniture to hide, but Zoe tripped on a bucket, which caught the attention of an injured woman. Zoe stood still to avoid being triggered by the zombies, and Rial helped Zoe by standing still in front of her to block her from the zombies' sight. After they introduced themselves to the group, Rial and T-Cool Cole joined them on the trip. The group stopped at an abandoned house, and there, they found a note warning them not to enter the town. The letter continued and said that the one who wrote it goes to Route 113 every day, looking for other survivors. The one who wrote the letter signed it with the number 79. Outside the house, Bonin discovered a pile of bones under a tree. The group was suddenly shocked when they heard Rial's screams. He had finally turned into a zombie and bit Tikal in the neck. Celine ran towards them and killed Rial. Outside the house, they discovered that there was another zombie that bit Pauline's lap. Therese looked at Pauline in shock, but quickly collected herself and shot the zombie twice. In the forest, Celine told Tikal that she was outside getting a manicure when her family was infected. She had been living the role of the perfect wife until now, because of the epidemic. She no longer cared about being perfect or anything. While telling her story to Tikal, she showed him a picture of her family. Tikal told her that his real name was Remy, and Celine then left the forest alone and returned home to clean the blood off her face. Therese asked Pauline if she had put extra dill in the pickles they had brought with them on their trip. Pauline said she didn't remember. Then she turned to Therese and shook her head, hinting that she was ready. Therese tried to hold back her tears as she aimed her gun at Pauline. Then they passed a building, but they didn't find anything useful in it, so they quickly went back out again. While walking in the forest, they began to hear the sound of a child crying echoing in the fog-filled forest. They walked after the sound and reached an injured woman carrying a crying doll. A few steps away from the injured woman, they discovered a tower of chairs. At the same time, zombies began to line up around them. When the injured woman pulled the string of the crying doll, Celine aimed to hit her with the lines. She hit the infected woman, but the zombies suddenly screamed, alerting the others to their presence. The entire hour, Horde ran toward them. Bonin carried Zoe and ran, hoping to take her to a safe place, while Tara stayed behind and watched them escape as the zombies caught her. Celine began slashing at the horde of infected running toward her with the machete. Bonin decided to hand Zoe over to Tanya and distract the zombies away from them. Despite being bitten multiple times, Celine continued to fight off the zombies with the machete. Meanwhile, Tanya took Zoe and led her into a tunnel, telling her she was the strongest among them. Tanya left the child in the tunnel as the zombies continued devouring the victims. After a while, an infected man entered the tunnel where Zoe was hiding, but Tanya arrived and played her accordion to lure the zombies away from her. When everything calmed down, Zoe returned to the building and saw Bonin preparing to shoot himself. Bonin, who had been bitten, told Zoe to let him go and find Tanya. Zoe left the building alone, carrying a rifle. As she walked through a field, she found another accordion on the ground, took it with her, and left the rifle behind. Zoe kept walking until she reached Route 113, where she decided to sit and wait. After a while, she heard the sound of an engine and saw a Formula 1 car approaching. The race car driver, wearing a jacket with the number 79, got out of the car and walked toward Zoe. She smiled at the man and warned him not to continue driving down the road he was heading toward. The man thanked Zoe and gave her a ride in his car to take her to a safer place. And that's the end of the movie. See you in the next summary.